This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society BC, brought to you by Sitka Game. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. Gooch, bonus episode with the doctor, Wardo.
Mr. Stelter, indeed. It was good to get Wardo on there and have a little chit chat. The convo went all over the map as good convos do, I think. And we didn't hit on everything that I definitely wanted to hit on, but I really liked where it went, and always love Wardo's energy.
Yeah, it's a good time for sure. First time I've been face to face with him. Obviously, consume his stuff, but it was fun to chat and catch up. We're going to drop this as a bonus episode the week before Kamloops convention. I got some bad news for our listeners that Kamloops is sold out. I got some good news, though, that for the people that are going, we got a great weekend planned. So Friday's our AGM. If you're a member, it's at the Coast Kamloops Hotel. You can buy tickets to our Friday night convention. Come and check out the fun night. We're going to show Tanner's film there, Through Our Eyes, the Caribou Conservation film. And we got a great evening planned, tons of raffles, giveaways, and so you can pick a ticket up for that. And then Friday at 2 p.m., we've got our annual general meeting. We're going to do our elections there. So come out and get involved in your society. So it's at the Coast Kamloops Hotel. Go to wildsheepsociety.com. You can pick up your tickets there. Click on Kamloops Convention through our events. And come be part of it. Life Member Breakfast is going to be epic this year. We're giving away Weatherby rifle. We're going to give away, so we got a raffle going on as we speak. It is a climber, Gunworks climber, full donation. I think it's either 16 or 17 grand is the value on it. It's just a full kit. It's got Leopold.
You betcha, Kyle. It's just under 17 there. That 7 Psalm, such a sweet rig. Leopold 5 HD on there, and what an amazing gun that is. I wish I could buy tickets.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to find a life member that would clearly gift it to you if they were to win it. But it's always a challenge. Actually, I'm pretty fortunate. I've got that rifle. I picked it up through Omer Precision Optics, and I've been shooting that for about 3 years now. 2 years, I guess it has been. I don't have it in 7 Psalm. It's a 6.5 PRC, which is freaking. But I can tell that my setup is that setup, just in a different caliber, and it is freaking ridiculous. It's just. Beautiful rifle, just super light, super easy to carry. The action on it's like butter, unbelievable. And I love the 6.5 PRC. You can just shoot it all day and you don't feel anything. Ammo is super readily available now on it. So great life member package. Tickets are $100. There's 400 tickets. We dropped it this morning. We sold 25% of our tickets. So if you're thinking you might want to pick up a ticket, I suggest that you don't wait, because this thing's going to, I don't think it'll see the end of the week, but who knows? It's selling really well. So
just another awesome way we're able to continue to kind of give back to our life membership. I love seeing it.
Well, it's twofold, right? We're giving back, but it's also Gunworks is our conservation partner. They stepped up. This was a full donation. So 100% of the proceeds from this are going to go to Wild Sheep Conservation British Columbia. So we're going to put and keep Wild Sheep on the mountain because of the support of our conservation partners. And it's a beautiful tie-in from our life members. Our life members are always the most generous as well. They're the backbone of the society. And we have a great life member breakfast. You're the life member co-chair, for lack of a better word, being the membership chairman. You and I are working on the program and going to deliver a great program for our life members in Kamloops. So if you're thinking about being a life member, I think there was 3 people signed up today. So we dropped this rifle. I hadn't told you that, but as we were on the podcast, I could see the emails coming in. And being a life member, it's $1,000 for life membership. You can do it on a monthly program, $90 a month. It's dirt cheap, right? In the grand scheme of things, especially when you know where your money's going, right?
Yeah, 100%. No, it's incredible to see. And definitely looking forward to that life member breakfast. We've got a couple things up our sleeve here for that, and it's going to be cool to draw this Gunworks, and then also to give away another gun just to any one lucky life member there, and really hope it's someone that ends up in the room, but it might not be. And I think either way, it's still going to be really cool to give that one away, and again show our appreciation for our membership, because like you said, they do so much for us, and I truly appreciate it. And then I guess after that life member breakfast, that's where guys can actually in person go and run into the star of the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the thing is, Matt really well, right? You're buddies, you guys hang out. You're in every one of his films. For crying out loud, a lot of them anyway. So this is a great listen. I spent most of it just laughing at Wardo and all the stuff that comes out of his mouth, right?
Oh yeah, he's, like I said, he's such a character, and the thing I've come to realize with him pretty quickly, like I didn't know him the first time we kind of went out on an elk hunt 4 years ago now. It was only the first couple times I've met him, but he's got such a big heart, and he's in it for the right reasons. He says some, I think, some pretty powerful stuff on this podcast, and I'll let his words do the talking to that, but he's definitely a person that I've come to appreciate more and more as I've gotten to know him better.
Yeah, well said. Well, that's the interesting thing with Beyond the Kill and that whole team, whether it's right at the top with Yonke or Nolan and yourself and Matt, and just such a great, what do you call it, an ecosystem? I think that was the word he used, and it's just I got a lot of time and respect for what Beyond the Kill does, and just you guys are always the ones that are giving back to. You're making sure you're looking after our community. It's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, that's something I definitely, in my time working with Adam in the past, I definitely always looked up to him for his continued support of wild sheep stuff, Rocky Mountain Gold Alliance as well. Obviously the Wild Sheep Foundation being a supporter of Beyond the Kill for many years now. Like, it's just, but it goes both ways. Like, he's giving back to them, they're giving to him. And that's what's making the message get out to more people. Right. And that's what it is, right. In any kind of relationship that is a good relationship, ideally everybody's winning, right? That's the point. So, and I think, obviously we're biased. We're on this podcast, so we clearly care about conservation, and that's something that's important to us. But it's always great to see folks that are not necessarily tied to a conservation organization really giving a shit about conservation. That, to me, that's where I'm like, that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's the people that I'm going to go and try to give my money to if I can as well, right? If they're selling a product or whatever, that's where I'm going to go, because they're caring about things that I care about.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, it's funny. Adam once said to me, I told him we were starting a podcast. I was thinking, he'd be like, "Yeah, you dicks, just take it away from our audience." And he was like, "Oh, rising tide floats all boats," and Wardo used those same term today. So, yeah, great group of people, and Wardo definitely delivers on this podcast. It was fun to sit there and listen to him.
You betcha, buddy. So, without further ado, I don't know if we have a number, but what is this one?
Yeah, we're going to slot this in as a bonus episode. We've got the next two recorded and all queued up, and we're going to slide this in on the Monday before the Kamloops convention because it's so relevant. You're going to hear us talk about our new whiskey that's coming out, and you're going to get a chance to bid on that at Kamloops, and it'll also be online. So check that stuff out and enjoy the chat with Dr. Matt Wardo. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Gunworks. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Gunworks, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems. Wardo, awesome. Thanks for coming on the show. And cool to get together. We were kibitzing here for the last 18 minutes and forgot to hit record. So we'll try that something different. Like what you say, Gooch, typical talk is sheep. But welcome to the program. But anyway, we're here for a good time and talk a little bit of BS about wild sheep. And I think we're going to talk about spirits today since I showed up Friday afternoon at 2:00 to record, and I seen Wardo had a beer and Pete had some whiskey, so I decided to join in, and we'll get after it here. So let's talk. What are you drinking over there? I seen the Old Style Pill. Is that what you got there?
Yeah, always just a quick after work hydration series. Throwing it back to my earliest homage of drinking, which is Old Style Pilsner, and then I have we're talking a lot of whiskey, and so I've actually strategically placed where I do podcasts and record stuff next to my whiskey collection, which is probably pushing 60 right now, 60 bottles. So basically, as soon as we started talking about Okanagan spirits, I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind a little Laird of Fintry single malt. So I've got a little Laird of Fintry single malt with a large whiskey cube in there. Because I don't drink neat whiskey before about 4 p.m. because I'm not an animal. I put a big cube in it. Pete, what do you got?
Awesome. Well,
I believe you just called me an animal, so because I just finished my whiskey, and I was sipping on it was a small whiskey, and I wouldn't even call it a finger, but it was our latest release from the Wild Sheep Society through Okanagan Spirits, who you just mentioned. And drum roll, please, Kyle. I'll drop the name now officially. It is our latest release, the Chadwick.
Oh, that's
it's
classy.
You betcha, yeah. So it's a single malt mezcal barrel finished whiskey from Okanagan Spirits. I'm one of I think the only guys to have tried it at this point, but you can buy it now online on if you Google search Okanagan Spirits the Chadwick, you'll find it very easily. It's running at $120 a bottle.
That's reasonable.
Again, sounds kind of expensive. I think so too. I mean, it sounds expensive, but we're talking a very good whiskey and a very good cost.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, like we did our bourbon last year. We wanted to do something different this year. I think we hit the nail on the head with the Stone Sheep focused, some smokiness tying into our Northern Burn projects. The Chadwick, obviously, it's maybe a little bit cheesy, but also just legendary. So yeah, I'm super stoked with it. I can't wait to drink a bunch of it with a bunch of you.
Yeah, is that going to be at the show in Kamloops for purchase?
yeah, we can't technically sell it because we don't have a license for it. So what we are doing is we're going to offer the cask, the mini cask that it was finishing in, and it's got the logo and everything on it, and then a case of whiskey, 6 whiskey bottles on top of it. We'll have that
sweet.
on the live auction, and then everything has to go through Okanagan Spirits because they have
Sure.
a liquor license. We can't legally
We
sell
should,
it ourselves. So we can do the auction item.
Strong arm them into a delivery option that anybody who orders the whiskey can pick an option on the drop down to be delivered for Saturday, not Friday, but Saturday at the sheep convention in Kamloops. They should just drive out and do it. It's like an hour.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a pretty solid call, actually.
Oh, yeah.
We actually, it's actually on their website now, but we haven't marketed it at all. We've kept it really quiet, but we probably should do something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I'll keep my royalties as, it'll be all for proceeds. Yeah, that'd be really slick.
Awesome.
Or like some sort of delivery that they can do it.
Yeah.
That'd be deadly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you do like 3 bottles or something, it's free delivery. Something like that, right, Gooch? I can't remember what the cutoff was, but I think I bought 5 or 6, and it was free delivery with that number.
Oh yeah,
so
wow.
It's over a certain amount, you
Nice.
get free delivery.
Nah, that's really
It's a good deal. So
Beauty.
yeah. Well, cheers, boys. I've got some of the Blue Bunch here. I thought it'd be
100%.
appropriate, so got some Blue
I'm gonna
Bunch
throw
going
down.
on
I wasn't
here.
sure if you guys were going to
Nice.
pull like a challenge coin out of a hat too, so I figured I'd throw mine down
Booty.
this time. Very strategic, lads. Cheers for that.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Can't be
Just love
caught
to
with my
drink
pants
that.
down on my
Only
first
once.
time on the podcast, meeting Kyle for the first time, so I was ready.
That's solid. Okay, well, hey, Wardo, let's kick this off by a little bit of the quick and dirty.
Yeah,
on Wardo.
sure. That's fitting because that's how a lot of people know me is through the BTK, the Beyond the Kill network and umbrella, I would say, formerly Journal of Mountain Hunting, and then the Beyond the Kill podcast. And I was on there enough that it ended up and getting enough questions that it was like, wow, why don't we roll like a little series of podcasts out under my own header, which I think if you hear 60 to 80 minutes continuous of how to help your back, or I go over 5 different things to help, it's way too much and people kind of lose it. So I just started this quick and dirty format of anywhere from like 6 to kind of 25 minutes on hip, knee, ankle, back, neck, shoulder, elbow, wrist, injuries, ways to prevent, ways to fix, things to look at, and then a bunch of just other topics of my background is strength and conditioning, and then so ways to train for sheep hunting, ways to train for mountain hunting, and then nutrition, and then any sort of I like to, probably one of my favorite things is to bust myths. So, why you don't need to get like fucking x-rays taken at the chiropractic office is full of malarkey. So, pardon me. So that's where it started. And then there was just a great response from the community. So we just kind of kept going with it. I think I've done I don't know, probably like 150 episodes or something like that now of talking to myself, which is, at first it was weird. And now I'm very accustomed to it, which I don't know which is worse, to be perfectly honest. So a lot of that stuff, I love taking the questions from the audience and from the people who support me. We're going to make a little shift because there's some more stuff coming under my banner and still under the BTK umbrella, but the Wardo stuff will shift to Hard Yards Performance, or the Hard Yards podcast. And that's kind of I think the motto and kind of ethos behind how I try and live my life is it doesn't all have to be grindy and hard, but the things that are worth doing require effort. And those are the hard yards you want to put in to make things to taste a little bit better. And that could be in the kitchen, that could be with a relationship at home, that could be the next drainage to look up for sheep. It could be, the hard yards of not pulling the trigger on something that maybe should just wait another year. So whatever that might encounter for you, or wherever that hits home, that's kind of what I wanted to go on. So that's the Hard Yards podcast and Hard Yards Performance and the Hard Yards of Life, actually. So not to get too philosophizing at this early stage of the whiskey game, but that's where we are. So you can find us on there at the BTK network, and then at Hard Yards on Instagram as well. So yeah, man, that's me. Oh, I guess I should probably talk a little bit about what I do. I'm a chiropractor in Kelowna. I have a heavy strength and conditioning background, and I try and combine what people would consider more physiotherapy elements, chiropractic stuff, and then the center focus of mine is like rehabilitation from the years I was a strength coach. So I think if you combine all those things and do it with some humility and put the patient first, you can fix like damn near anything. And as soon as I'm not doing a good job on fixing something, or I'm not using the right tool in the toolbox, I change tools, or I move you on to somebody else. And I think that's like how I kind of try and put the patient first. And then I think, not to be too cheesy, but I think that's how I try and carry that morality and respect into the field as well with trying to find critters. So I think it kind of happens. It's full circle and 360 for me, I would say, with at life and then my other hobby activities. I got into this silly life of mountain pursuit of animals in 2019. I was asked to go on and film a 12-day or so adventure in the West Kootenays for elk, which we saw absolutely none. And we hiked up and down every peak we could possibly find, just for the sake of it, in the rain and snow. And somehow I was hooked. And from there, it's progressed into a crazy whirlwind of, it's the main thing I do with my time off. It's what I plan my life around. It's what I now plan all my fitness around. And now it's what I'm slowly planning some work around, as I'm extremely fortunate to have these opportunities, like to talk with you guys today and to talk to everybody at the show in Kamloops. But last year, Ben Storak at Arcadia asked me to go help him on a Cali bighorn hunt. And that was like, I tried not to think about, what that meant, and just try and do the job the best I could. And we had a super successful hunt, and the client was really happy, and Ben was really pleased. And I think that was probably the thing at this stage in the game I'm probably the most proud of, for sure. And so I have a couple more of those coming this year, and then some more stuff as well. Maybe a couple of goats to guide myself, and maybe a mule deer as well. But I'm not sure how much time I can take off practice. But and then also not spend it with my fiance, so it gets a little tough sometimes.
So, that was the one thing that struck me really interesting, Wardo, was with you, is that 4 years ago, you never even been out on a hunting trip. And I remember that first trip. I think, did you guys document that one? I know you had documented a mule deer hunt, but did you document
that's the one where
hunt?
Nolan got the rosy draw and killed that mutant on, let's say, None of Your Business Island. So he killed that mutant. So we did a 6-part series. the first 3 parts was this like rookie hunter, trying to do it the right way with the bow, which isn't the right way, but I love the damn thing. I've got like a new one sitting next to me right now. And then the second 3 parts were Nolan and a bunch of the boys on a rosy hunt in the North Coast there.
So how does that? I've never understood this well, and I grew up. I know Pete did too. Our grandfathers did it, our fathers did it. We were exposed to it as kids. How do you go your whole life and never expose it, and then just go, "Holy shit, this is my thing," and this is like now. That's part of your identity. I know you're Dr. Ward and all that stuff too, but I look at you, you're a hell of a lot more of a hunter than I'll ever be. And how does that happen where you just go from nothing to like, it consumes you? I'd love to hear.
Yeah. I said it in that BTK interview, in my apartment living room is I don't do anything half measure. So people always ask me for whatever reason, they're like, "Oh, do you fly fish?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, like why such a direct answer? Wouldn't you want to try it?" I'm like, I don't really try anything. Like I'm going to do it and I'm going to devote everything I have to it, or I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? So I cut hobbies that I can't spend the time in doing. I used to backcountry ski a lot, and I'm pretty much just like resisting putting my gear up for sale on Marketplace because I don't spend 25 days a year in the backcountry anymore. So to me, 4 days doesn't cut it. I'd rather spend those 4 days doing something else. So that's just like how my mind works and how I commit to things. So it really did start out, it's going to sound like a little bit of a cop-out, but I love food and I love cooking. And I was too poor for a little while in Portland there to really cook with like good ingredients. But when I was in Vancouver before I went back to school, I was doing decently well for myself, and I could afford to buy these like really great ingredients from like Two Rivers and all this great meat. And the better ingredients I found, fresh stuff from Granville Island and all this cool stuff. And the better ingredients I found, the better my food tasted. And so I really, really dove myself into cooking, scotch and wine, whiskey, I should say, not just scotch, all became kind of like this tasting platform. And then as like time goes on, and sadly, ignorance is bliss, but I was no longer that ignorant to factory farming and so on and so forth. And I was like, man, this meat sucks. It's not what I used to have. Like these animals live in pretty deplorable conditions, especially what I was buying out of like cheap ass grocery stores in the United States. Canada's way different. But still. And so I was like, I think hunting would be cool. And then rewind that a little bit further. And then with my strength and conditioning background, and I had an online training company called Primal Performance, Adam Yonke kind of approached me and my business partner, Bryce, to start Mountain Strong, which was basically trying to guys pay at the time, $60,000 to go on a stone hunt or $50,000 to go on a stone hunt. They trail in and they're so fucked up from coming off the horse. They can't move their legs. They can't get in the backcountry. They can't succeed at their hunt. And I thought, well, that's an easy one. Sadly, the industry wasn't just quite ready yet for like some sort of a hunt, like a backcountry or a mountain hunting training experience. Now you have Mountain Tough and you have Elk Shape and Beyond the Kill is launching on Monday. This will be out by the time it's launched, but our new fitness platform. So we have somebody taking care of that, which you'll hear more about on a BTK episode on the launch. But that's kind of where it went for me. I was like, I need to make a change. And I can't afford to buy at the time. I couldn't afford to buy like all this grass-fed meat and stuff like that. So it just became, how do I get meat in the freezer? And that's where it started. And then sadly from there, it's just like an onion that gets peeled layer by layer. I meet Pete, and then I meet Ben, and I meet Nolan, and Adam's brought me into this world. And then I hear about the filmmaking and the story and the conservation. And it just like tugged on my heartstrings. I also felt anything that's misrepresented, I feel like I get like my hackles up a little bit, like I get a mohawk up on my back, like a rabid dog. I'm like, this is poor information. People are being coerced into their decision making. So I think all of these pieces together, plus my whole background on Vancouver Island was, some forestry, some logging, spending a lot of time in the mountains, backcountry skiing, mountain biking, multiple overnight trips at a pretty young age, and then Later on, forest firefighting at Rapattack out of Salmon Arm. So just like really enjoying the mountains. And then if I can put cooking and mountain time together, that's kind of seemed like a no-brainer to me. And that's kind of where I've come to this point now where, well, I have a new film that's being released. It's called Stock, Shoot, Share. It's going to be it's going to be part of like a series that we're going to try and run on some really, we're right now trying to pull 2 hours of footage down to like 6 minutes. So good luck on my boy, Dustin Cressy, for doing that. We want to make these fast, like highlight reel, emotionally charged hunts. No grip and grin, none of that kind of stuff. Just like the whole story that goes around it before, during, and after. And I think on that level, that's where I really want to try and spend more of my time, is relaying the message, hopefully what I believe is the right way, or a good way. There's not one right way, but a good way to relay it to the public, and not just the hunting public. I feel like you're if you're an anti-hunter and you're rabid against it, then that's fine. I don't have to talk to you. If you're already a hunter, badass. Like let's have beers, let's get together. But there's a lot of people who are this undecided voter group almost, then they could go either way. And I think the more people that put out great content like you guys, and hopefully this podcast and my own, and there's a whole world that goes along with this, then, you just have numbers on your side, and numbers are really, I think, what matters, right? Especially when it's done correctly. So that's kind of that's the long and the long of it, man. That's how somehow become probably the biggest part of my life, for sure. Like even, my fiance Sonia, we're like, getting her set up with a mountain rig, and we're, she's kind of hook, line, and sinker. She likes to punish herself too. So she sees how it's been done. And hopefully I think if my mind can kind of get changed that way, and the effect it's had on my life in such a positive way, then if her life can also have that, and she doesn't, isn't maybe going to be going guiding anytime soon, but if she wants to, that's badass. And then if more and more people the undecided voter can go that way, I think, why the hell not? Like, why not spend the next 40 years trying to push that needle, right? Like a rising tide raises all boats. Like, let's fucking go here.
Awesome, man. I love hearing that. It's interesting. I'm hearing more of an evolution. Like back in the 80s, 90s, and the zeros, it was all about like whack and stack and like $60 and 60 minutes and all that sort of stuff. And then it changed, right? Storytelling became more important in our own community. But now I'm seeing like, as hunters, we're like, we've not done a good job of telling our story, and we're sort of trying to tackle like the 80%, right? You said not the antis, not the pros, just the middle ground that, let's just get some, some common ground and some acceptance for hunting. But it's interesting now, these films are coming out, and you talked about, what did you say? Whack 'em, stack 'em, shoot 'em. What was your name? Name of your new program?
Is going to be called Stock, Shoot, Share. Yeah.
I'm just teasing you. But yeah, Stock, Shoot, Share. I just seen the trailer there before the show. But it's interesting now. Like most people would say, like the easy ground is the hunter. Let's do something different, but for the hunter. Where's that inspiration where you're like, because I'm hearing more and more of this now, and I think it's amazing. I think if everyone was doing what you're doing, we wouldn't have a problem with hunting, and we wouldn't be losing all these opportunities and blah blah blah. Where does that come from, and what's your driver for that? I'd like to learn a little bit more about that.
It started a little bit with it started with the BTK series, right? And I mean, I can't thank / curse, I'll always say that, Adam enough for giving me that opportunity. But there was a time there where I was chatting with Lululemon about being an ambassador up here in Kelowna and stuff like that. And Lululemon up in Kelowna, they asked me to come in and talk about hunting. Like there was a time when you would think that like, holy shit, like there's not a chance that company would be interested. And it's not that as a company they were, it was like some people, right? It wasn't this big staff thing. There were some people who were interested. There's enough people interested in where their food comes from at this point that I think that's the needle that can really push it. But I think there's also something that people are missing. And I look in my life right now, and the closest you always have your friends from like, man, my Steve Chan is like we were friends when we were 0, like whatever, they're family friends forever. And everybody has those, but the people who I'm closest to in my life right now are people I've shared a shitty tent site with on the side of a mountain. And there's a brotherhood and a bond that comes with that maybe you only get together. You don't even live in the same province or maybe even the same country, but there's a brotherhood and a bond that comes with that I think can be shared along with the pursuit of your own health and fitness to go with that, along with the pursuit of cooking something that great, along with the craftsmanship of some of these smaller companies now, like, Tanner at Frontiersman, the craftsmanship behind his knives, and a bunch of people making great quality product like that. The fellas down at Method Archery, you see these stories coming together and you're bonded over this thing. And you're like, man, it's not that we don't get together and talk about we never get together and talk about how many animals we've killed or what we have or whatever. We talk about how was that trip? What'd you see? How was the drive up? How was the drive home? Oh, that's cool. Beavers are great to fly in on. The weather's, you just talk about all this shit that has nothing. It's all to do with quote unquote hunting, but it's the experience in general. It has nothing to do with the trigger pull. It's the pack out, but it's not because the animal's on your back. It's because you're fucking suffering. So I don't know, you suffer together and you grow together, but there's so many other things that happen on those trips that I think I really want to, without turning it commercialized, I think if you do it really true to what you believe and you don't make shit up and you have a great filmmaker and videographer like Dusty, I think Dusty is, man, the message comes across, right? And I think that's kind of where the passion comes from, is I don't understand how someone could not be interested in this or accepting of it, at least if they saw that side. So that's kind of where I start with that stuff, and then we'll see where it goes, right? This is just film number 1, and we have some more in the hopper for sure. So we'll just kind of see where she goes from here, and I hope the number one thing, if this thing didn't catch fire and people didn't give a shit, but all of a sudden you saw a bunch of kind of passion projects coming out like this that were these shorter duration, because these long, there's nothing wrong. I love hunting, right? And I love the story and all the fails and the makes and whatever. But man, if you're not a hunter and you want to watch a pretty slow, 35-minute film, you're not going to capture much of an audience. There's people who are, this day and age, man, it's quick stuff. So you have to compete against stuff that is quick, right? And you can change somebody's mind in an instant. So if you have something that's just short enough that people can watch it time and time again, or they watch the first half and they caught the second half because it's only a 6-minute film, I think there's something to be said for that, right? And this is an idea that I want to patent and be we're only the ones that are doing this. I want everybody to do this, because I truly believe that more people, we can capture that 80% and we can get them more informed, and then they can make an opinion on their side after they see kind of, I think, what actually happens out there. The statistics and numbers and all that stuff are maybe great for accountants and all that, right? And we have all the stats in the world to prove what we're doing is correct and trying to do it the right way and so on and so forth. But again, it's maybe too boring for this day and age. Maybe 50 years ago it wasn't, because there wasn't social media and, reels, and you could just kind of scroll stories and whatever. So I think if we can band together a little bit with that, I think it at least changes the masses' opinion, or it at least educates them to make a better decision.
Very cool. Now, whose platform is this? Your own platform? Is this a Wardo production, or is it?
Yeah. So I am part of the BTK crew, right? So that's the umbrella. But this is myself. The way this actually came about is from BTK. So this really badass guy, who has become a very close friend, Connor Armitage. He is roughly around the Red Deer area. That's where he's from. It's a pretty good story, actually. He messaged me via the podcast, and he says, hey, hey Wardo, hope it's not taking up too much of your time, but I would love to chat with you about my knee. Gave me a little rundown, and I'm like, yeah, man, let's do it. So I think we hopped on a phone call, and like right away, I'm like, oh man, he sounds like a rodeo cowboy, like just had that like real Canadian accent. And I was like, nice. Sure enough, he actually did ride bulls for a time. So I was like, well, yeah, I was not far off. So we're talking, and you got to remember that a lot of the people that I see, even if they're like, quote unquote tough, they don't ride bulls, and they sure as shit don't guide sheep in the Yukon. So right away, he's tougher than most. And he's like, oh yeah, I popped my ACL. I've been kind of back and forth on surgery. One surgeon's telling me yes. One surgeon's saying, no, I've got a new guy. He, so on and so forth. And I just kind of tried to lay it out to him the best I could. And basically he was like running, no ACL and no knee brace for most of the time when he's guiding and carrying out like a whole caribou on his back up in the Yukon. And he's like, sometimes my knee gets a little sore. And in my mind, his knee's like, for us three, his knee's probably completely fucked, like people are like, chopper me out. He's just limping on a crutch. So I helped him with his knee a little bit, and he said, I'd really love to repay the favor, and I'd love you to come out if you're interested, come out and bow hunt for mule deer along the Bow River. I thought, well, what a awesome opportunity. That's like terrain I'll almost, never really get to access unless I go guided. And just different than what I'm used to, because obviously mountain hunting versus, that Brooks, Alberta area is like pretty flat. So I was like, sure, why not? And he's like, oh, maybe we should document a bit. I said, yeah, let's do a film. And then he's like, oh, I got this guy, Dustin Cressy. He's like just got into filmmaking like a couple years ago, and so on and so forth. And I said, oh yeah, sure. So we kind of took it all pretty casually. And then we all kind of, again, this like bond just formed. And we were like, man, this thing could, like, as we started spitballing ideas, we were like, wow, we're all on the same page. And Dusty had a really cool vision of it because he's not tainted by the hunting space, so to speak. And he just brought his spin onto it. And his spin is like wildlife, travel, and adventure. And from just outdoors, he used to be like a super high level skier and stuff like that. So we got along great. He was effortless on the shoot, and I'd highly recommend checking out his stuff. And then, so from there, it was like, hey, this is, let's make a film of it. And then since then, it's kind of keeps growing and growing. So it's going to be like kind of under the BTK banner, but really like Hard Yards, Dusty, myself are kind of the guys kind of spearing it. And then we want to try and chuck some more in. And I'm not sure if it's like remains to be seen, if it's somebody like wants us to tell a story and like Dusty's the guy and I'm the character. I think the character could be interchangeable every time. And I think that's the important part. It's not Wardo who thinks this way. We all think this way. So it should be a different guy every time in a different hunt in a different place. Like I'd like to next year, I'm gonna hunter host Connor, all things going well, for a goat, because obviously like goats in Alberta, like good luck. So if he's not going to come over here guided, then I'm kind of his best shot. So I did hear a rumor actually that was maybe going to be pulled, but I was talking to my buddy who's a CO, and he says he hasn't heard that and stuff. So anyways, I'm still hoping for that. And so we can do like a really cool, again, I can repay the favor, and we can create another like bucket list trip for him. That's the only thing he wants. He killed an unbelievable Rocky Mountain bighorn last year, almost made full curl. And he's like, oh, a goat would just mean everything to me. And I'm like, oh, wow, let's do this. So I think there's like, you can fulfill dreams and you can create these relationships, but like the story will be more about Connor on this second hunt.
Very cool. Did I see Gucci in the trailer again?
Of this one? Yeah, you're
in that
damn
trailer?
right.
Yeah.
So
This guy is everywhere.
You know what? He's just always around. He's got nothing to fucking do.
Correct. I'm looking for every excuse to get out of the house that I can. So yeah, I'm like, yep, let's go.
Yeah.
No, in truth though, that was an unbelievable dinner that you guys prepared for us that evening. Tanner came down from Prince George as well, and we just had a really good get together. Dustin was there from Alberta as well, and so yeah, it was unbelievable night, you guys, and yeah, can't thank you enough.
That was really cool.
Wicked
the
food
menu items, Kyle,
were
were deadly. So we had. Here's the stock, shoot, share principle, right? So here's share. So we used backstraps from my mule deer. We did I'll start at the beginning. So we used half of a Roosevelt elk heart from Pete and his brother's hunt on Vancouver Island. So I did like an elk heart tartare, which was super fun. Like pulled a chunk of smoke out, egg yolk on the top, chunk of charcoal out, like smoked it on the board, and then did some like pork rinds to serve that with, which is super cool. It was a really fun presentation, and not a lot of guys are eating like a lot of raw elk heart, so it was like fun to like see everybody's like reaction, and people are like, my brain says this is crazy, but this is really fucking good. So that's always like pretty fun to me. And then our second dish was prepared basically like a mascarpone and smoked butternut squash ravioli with prawns from Lauren Trousdale and I's trip to Haida Gwaii the year before, which was freaking insanely good. And then we did like a sous vide and then charcoal flame seared mule deer backstrap from Alberta with some roasted carrots and a chimichurri sauce. That was also at that point we were all getting a little fuzzy, so it was I think it was pretty good, but it was tough to say. But there was a lot of wine out, and I paired it all with wine from the Okanagan. So it was like that to me, man. Like Sonia and I, my fiance and I, we cooked like all night, and I probably one of the best nights I've had in a long time, man. Like I could almost get emotional about it if I let myself, to be honest. Like that's how much fun I had, preparing food for these guys and sharing the experiences, and then seeing Pete and Tanner know each other, but not very well. And then Dusty's never met these guys. My buddy James Ness and Pete know each other really well because we went up north. But to have these four guys, because Sonia and I are kind of in the kitchen doing our thing, and to have these four guys around a table chatting, like they're friends from high school. That's what it's all about, right? And it just happens to be over something that we've all partaken in harvesting a great animal at some point in time. So, not that prawns are a great animal, but they do their job.
Yeah, we don't need to advocate for prawn harvesting, right? We don't have any issues with that. Nobody's beating it up on us. As soon as things
go underwater, no one gives a shit. Like if stone sheep live down there,
do whatever you want.
Bears, I don't care. But as soon as they're above land,
net them. Who cares? Nobody cares.
People care about dolphins because they jump. They're out of the land. They're out of the water for seconds. And they're like, we must save those things. I'm gonna piss somebody off with that. I'll apologize already, but don't send Kyle any hate. I'll send it to Pete.
Just send them to the Beyond the Krill podcast, Wardo. They'll be all good. That's what they can find you, right?
On that for me, please. Cheers, guys.
Oh, that's awesome. That really cool. When does that film drop? When do we get to see it?
Yeah, so we're trying to take like 6 hours of footage and 2 hours of footage and condense it into 6 minutes. So we'll see how close it happens. Dusty's working pretty hard on it right now. So I hope within a month. That's the plan. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll share and tag and do all the things, and we'll see. I hope. So back in the day, I used to race downhill mountain bikes, and my friend Steve and I, we would watch this one part in Freewheel Burning. Nicolas Vulliot from France had this like raw, just gnarly ass section. And we would watch it, and the song was by Disturbed, and it was sick, and you would watch it, and then you would go downhill training. And of course you'd have to watch it on VHS because that's how old I am. You'd watch it on VHS, you get all like freaking ramped up, and then you'd head out. And then some guys also had like a little VHS thing at like race sites, and so you'd punch it in and you'd like watch that one section, and you like fly out onto the hill, and you'd like have this pinned run and then hit a tree obviously and crash. But that's kind of what I would think. It'd be cool to have something like that would fire people up to like go train or go to the range and fling arrows or lead down the range or go like, hike and ruck. And that's what they're thinking of, or like watch it when they're out or on the way to a hunt or something like that. So it'd be like pretty cool to be able to like have a stoke film like that, I think.
It'd be awesome if you had that on your phone, and just before you went and did a stalk on a stone sheep, you watched it, and then you just like you could just baja, like just chase them.
And it's
down,
only
right?
like 6 minutes, so like it's not going to take up too much battery life when you don't have like quite enough for the whole trip, right? So it's not like 40 minutes or something.
That's awesome. Hey, okay, so I do want to talk some training stuff, but before we do that, so you're guiding bighorn sheep, but you've never gone on a sheep hunt, right?
No, I've been on 4 sheep hunts, 2 sheep specific and 2 pocket full of tag hunts.
In 4 years?
Yeah. Yeah, 3.
Wow. You do kind of go full all in.
Yeah. I mean, 2 northern 2-week trips a year for a couple of years there. And then last year I was pretty pinned, just 1 northern trip. And then I was pretty pinned on elk here last year. And I had some I would say great success. Just didn't quite have the enough pokey bits for me to loose an arrow or pull a trigger. So, a couple of 5 points and the 3 points coming in pretty early in the calling days. I was pretty. I'm getting better at it, but it's definitely that was probably like one of the crazier highlights I think of my year. Wow, Adam and I's stone sheep hunt was like insane. We saw almost 30 rams. Had an 8-year-old at 140 yards for a couple hours. But it was just too hard to tell. It was like so close to over the nose and not. And there were a couple of false rings in there. And you're like, fuck, like, what's the big deal? Like, another year is another year. Like we can find this. We found this guy 2 years in a row, right? So let's just find him again the next year. So that's like kind of where that was. But again, it sounds like, maybe in some people's eyes, a failed hunt, right? But I mean, we were bow range on like multiple rams and like, seeing so much sheep behavior and made zero wrong plays, and then found a couple of monsters, but just didn't have enough days to make it happen. They didn't come out the night in which we wanted because it was windy as shit. And I mean, it is what it is. That's hunting, right? And then we had to peel out that day because we were out of days. We were at like day 14 or 15 at that point. So it is what it is. But yeah, man, bunch of sheep stuff, and then learning enough. And talking to Ben a lot. I get like Ben and I are great friends now, and talking to him enough that he said, "Hey, do you want to come just give me a hand?" And I mean, Ben's so capable, right? Like you could be completely useless over there and he would still get the job done completely fine. And like you weren't even there. But I tried to take that job about as seriously as I take anything. And it worked out really well. And the client was happy, which reflects like really well on Ben's business and the hunting world in general. And the more that can happen, the better it gets. Right. So even on that trip, right, like I was doing some spotting and the ranch manager came over because I was spotting from across the way, and the ranch manager came over and he was like, "Oh yeah, like, what's the difference between these sheep?" and so on. And so I had my spotter and phone on, like digiscope on it. And he's just like, "Oh yeah, these all look like they could be like they could be taken." And you're like, "Well, that's not quite right." So it was really fun and like a cool educational process just to chat with like why we're looking at not taking actually the biggest ram in the group. We're going to take this one over here who's probably older and he's like super fucked up and his leg's all broken and he's definitely not making another winter or making it away from a cougar for sure. So just like, chatting about the band dynamics and what happened there was probably like, again, like a super big highlight of my year. I think sometimes I feel like I'm in like a bit of an imposter, but with the amount of material like you guys put out and that's available from really smart guys, much smarter than me, who've been doing it their whole life, it's pretty easy to, if you're interested, to learn. And so that's kind of where I hung that hat.
Yeah, very cool. Now, did you go with Adam a couple of years ago and hike in off the highway? I'm not going to say where, but I'm sure because I talked to Adam after a hunt. And he was coming out and he ran into a couple guys and a couple guys that I knew. And we hunted that same area previous years. And so you were on that hunt with Adam because he talked about that to me.
Yeah, we got
cool.
Dick.
Yeah, special spot.
Yeah, that was a rough year, man. It was like 33 degrees and there was no water anywhere up tops. We were dropping like 500 meters of vert just to get water. And it's like you can only do that so many days before you're like out of days and fucks to give. So we had our tail between our legs that year. Yeah, absolutely. So what's the plan for this fall then? Are you sheep? I'm going, I have a big trip planned in August with my fiance that I'm going to play those cards pretty close to the chest. But I'll be away for 3 weeks in August. And then September, let's actually back it up. I'm going to have a hunt that I'm probably the most excited I've been about a hunt for a long time. I'm going to hang out on Vancouver Island, up northern Vancouver Island with Nolan and Lauren. And we're going to bow hunt for some big bears. And Swellfish is a sponsor of that hunt, and they're going to give us a boat, and we're going to take some sweet photos and catch prawns and jig for halibut and catch lingcod. And then if we see a big bear in an estuary, let's put a stalk on. So I think Nolan getting behind the bow again is probably one of the things I'm the most excited for. So we're like pretty fired up. That's going to be 10 days on Vancouver Island in April. And then probably just the rest of the year, just kind of some bear and turkey hunting stuff. I'd like to get out quite a bit with Sonia and myself, just camping. And then if it happens, it happens. And then I'm going to put a lot of time in that June, July into scouting elk locally, because I can hunt about 30 minutes from my house. And I'm going to see what I can drum up. And then August I'm gone, which will be a really exciting trip. And then I get back and I do two bighorn hunts with Ben. And then October I'm going to pound elk and just relatively locally. And either the bow season in September, I might try and take like 5 days and punch into the Fernie area and see if I can find some bulls. But other than that, it's going to be that. It'll be sheep, and then potentially guiding some goats in like the November time. So I'm going to probably try and split my year between the hunting and guiding equally this year. So last year, I think I probably had 9 weeks off work, 7 were for hunting, and I think I did about 65 to 80 days in the field. And then this year I'm probably going to do somewhat of the same, but half of that's going to be for Ben at Arcadia. So big push into that life.
That's awesome, man. What's the deal with Sonia? What's talk about her? Where's she at in her?
Yeah, so she is a professional hiker, like so many of us are. A lot of time spent with me last year, Gucci, where we went actually hunting bulls, in that BTK series. We did two trips pre-season, punching up and camping, up at the lake and then up on some ridge lines up there. And then I did 2 trips in season. She came along for all of them. They were like cannonball runs, like get off work at noon, make it to the ferry for 6, and then up, and then find what you find, and then back. So it was pretty intense, and it was like they were hard freaking trips. And that's her first real backcountry kind of experience. And as you know, like it's not super crazy, but it's something up there. And then
oh, for sure, it's wild.
Oh yeah,
it's you're on a trail, but it's still there's some vert and there's some distance.
Especially when you get off trail, right? And like I was cruising back towards, back towards that other mountain that we didn't quite get to, and I mean, it's no fucking joke. So I was like super impressed. Once you're in pushed her pretty hard, and she, was tired but crushed it. And then she's a really good photographer as well, and she loves the story. And loves to see, like, man, I'm so lucky. She loves to see how much I love it and practice and do all those things. That she just loves to be together and loves to be out there. So, and her ability to cook food and her ability to put dishes together, we combine super well on that. So she sees how hard the work goes into how the food comes home, and that the work just gets put in, tenfold in the kitchen sometimes. So both of us together, that's like it's this partnership that I've been looking for forever. So we got engaged last year, and I'll be married in sometime.
You and me both, brother. Yeah, no, it's dude, that's so awesome. I think it's obviously I know Sonia a little bit too, and you guys are awesome together, and I think it's really cool that you share that, you share in the success of each other, right? That's what's important in a partnership. And so she sees in you what you've been going through the last couple of years here, the growth that it's brought to you and the joy that it brings you, and all those things, right? She's seeing that and she's like, fuck yeah, like let's go, let's do this, right? And I think that's so awesome. And you just mentioned there too, like she sees the struggle of what goes into bringing the food home, right? That sentence right there, to me, it means so much, because it's just dismissed so easily by everybody. Oh, yeah. And right, and it's like, yeah, what does it take to bring a deer home? Or sometimes, yeah, you shoot it from beside the road in a clear cut somewhere. Sure, that happens sometimes, but oftentimes, and especially a guy like yourself, you're going out there and you're like, no, I want to put in the hard yards. I want to work for this. I want to do this the way people have done it for millennia. That to me is like, that's the true connection to your food all of a sudden, right? When you're actually putting in all of that effort of going to go find the animal, trying to kill it. Maybe you're successful, hopefully, in the most ethically and quick way possible, and all of these things that like we all want to try to do. But then the process of breaking that animal down, bringing it home and everything, right? There's so much to that. That sometimes takes a week, to do.
Totally,
you know, like it's massive.
Even when you
so anyway,
even when you unwrap a package from the butcher or something you've done yourself, and there's more work sometimes to be done on that piece of meat before it goes in, to the Dutch oven to be a braised roast or whatever the frick you're going to onto the grill or whatever it's going to be. You're like, oh yeah, the work's still, not quite done. And it's like, you're like another reminder versus when
bet.
you grab a roast from the store. I mean, it's like boom, bang, bang, boom. And you definitely care a little less. Like shit, I bought a quarter of beef from this guy I met through the podcast as well. Actually, Colton, K3 Ranch in between kind of like Edmonton and Calgary there. He's an awesome guy. He's an avid hunter. He's an avid sheep hunter, and he has a hell of a cattle ranch. And he, even the meat that he drove, he was doing a little drop off, and he drove and met me in Vernon from like fucking Edmonton. And I mean, outstanding. Like that's riskier. Driving from there to there in the winter is like, and back is riskier than any trip that any of us are ever going to be on in our lives, most likely. And I still like, I go and I grab a pack of ground beef, like probably the most mundane thing that you can get from a cow, right? Because it's just the parts and ground and whatever. And I still am like, Colton like could have died delivering me this meat, and it's like his livelihood. And I care a little bit more, a little bit more. And then you look at like, well, I only am going to have like one set of ribeyes. So I definitely going to care about these things, and they're going to be special, and and it might be Tuesday. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't save them, but you just treat it with a little bit of difference, because you see what somebody took to, it's their livelihood and what they go through in farming and ranching and all that stuff. And then the delivery obviously was insane. So, everybody could do, I think, a little bit of that. You don't do it all the time, but everybody just a little bit more of that and a few more fucks given. I think you'd be there.
Well, I think that's what's happened with society now, is that we've come into this situation where we're so disconnected from the landscape that people just have no clue. Like, to them, the hard part of eating meat is the drive to the grocery store. Like that 7 minutes, 3 minutes there, 3 minutes back, and standing in line for half an hour. That's what they equate with, like, what, that's their comparison to what you just described, being on the mountain or that drive. And there's no recognition of that. And people, when they see it, and I talk about, of course, we're all passionate. Any one of us talk to one of our city friends about this. They're mesmerized. They listen. They're like, holy shit. Like, I can eat. And I talk to vegetarians, and that I would eat that meat. I'm okay with that. And lots of times, as we know, vegetarians, there's a million reasons why they don't eat meat. And lots of times it's because they're just like, well, I just don't like the way animals are treated and about the whole mass production. Anyway, don't need to go down the rabbit hole, but there's just this huge disconnect. And I think, like, you're telling your 6 minute story, having people reconnect with that is pretty important, right? And I think that's the big battle we're up against right now, is this mass, and BC is the worst of anywhere, this massive urbanization. You look at the Lower Mainland in Victoria, and it's just, everyone's there, and nobody knows where the meat comes from.
I think it's really easy right now, along with everything, to blame price. Like, I bitch about the cost. Like, we had moose ribeyes the other night, and I was just like, this is the cheapest part of my, not actually, but I was like, at this point, it's the free part of my meal versus this like broccoli or this broccolini that I'm buying is like fucking $1 million. I got to take out a second mortgage to buy a head of lettuce. And so it's easy to blame the price of goods and produce, and for whatever reason that is, and you're even, I think I would say, further disconnected from where your food comes from, and it almost makes you like a little bit pissed off about it. And people can be, when people are pissed off, they can bitch and moan, or they can fucking do something about it, right? And I don't think everybody can or should hunt, but a lot of people could support a lot of farmers that could do a lot better. And whether that's the farmer's market, whether that's a local produce farm, whether that's, chicken, sides of pork, whatever it might be, like, there's a lot to say about, and those are just guys like us, guys and gals like us who are just trying to scratch a living away and trying to take a dent out in the machine. And I mean, the more you can put that in, right? Like, you could be pissed about how much stuff costs. Like that meat from Colton, man, $8.50 a pound, average for all that stuff, for a massive, amazing side, quarter of beef, right? So that's not expensive. $8.50 a pound is that's relatively cheap as in terms of red meat price, right? So, and I think you can find it even cheaper than that, but that's high quality stuff. So the closer, you're right, Kyle, the closer you are to the product that's on your plate and what you feed your family, the more you're going to care.
That's what we do. All our stuff, all our beef comes from Alberta as well. Same deal. We just have a family friend. My dad used to do it. He retired, and then one of his buddies now does it. It's all AAA stuff, and just, it's just, and you literally can taste it, right? It's absolutely
one of the coolest tests is actually to put a piece, like go to the store, or if you have store-bought ground beef, and then you find some ground beef, you get some ground beef from like a local farm, and just fry them both in 2 different pans at the same time. Like just put them down. Don't even touch them or smash them out. Just put them in there as like kind of a ballish, rectangle-y type deal, and just like plunk them in there and just cook them down for a while, and you'll see the difference in what happens to that meat. One shrinks up, blood, bunch of shit comes out of it, like it's wild, bunch of liquid, and the other one just stays kind of as is. And you can see it with the Maillard reaction of searing good quality meat versus garbage. Like it's quite a bit different. So it's super interesting.
Well, are we going to talk about fitness or what? It was passe. We never really got there, but so okay. I don't know if Pete told you, but I got a draw actually. I got the early sheep draw, and I happened to get a tag. Yeah. So yeah. And I'm in the worst shape I've ever been in my life. So and here I am drinking whiskey on the podcast. So anyway,
whiskey doesn't hurt the legs, man. I'll tell you right now from experience.
So anyway, I got a little bit of work to do. So I think there's a few people out there like me. It's late February. Sheep season's around the corner. It's coming quick. And you start doing the math. You're like, oh, shit, I got lots of time. It's like, no, August 1st is really freaking close. Like we're not. So for those of us that need to get after it, that maybe had a bit of a sedentary winter, what do we got to do? Talk me through my training regime.
I'll tell you what not to. Anything's going to be better than nothing. But there's a way to do it. There was a way to do it that probably mitigates injuries. So the thing that we always think about at this point, you've spent enough time with a pack on that like you don't have to put a pack on still for a long time. So the worst thing that people can do is come out of the winter and get a draw, get a sheep draw early, and the first instinct that they have is that you're like, I need to hike. And so you're coming out of a sedentary winter, your hips are tight, your back's tight, your knees are tight, your tissues aren't ready, and you go and you just start hiking with a pack on. There are definitely guys who get away with that year in, year out. And I call them, they're specialists. They're an inch wide, but a mile deep. And that's fine. But I still know, like, I'll throw Nolan and Ben under the bus. That's their realm of fitness. And their bodies are not, they don't feel amazing. I can be blunt. They're a little fucked up. And there's way more ability to have some varied training early. And you got to remember that the cardiovascular system, there's many different levels to it, but really like true cardio, the best thing you could do right now is probably start going on twice a week, 60 to 90 minute talking pace activity, relatively unweighted. So if that's cycling, if it's walking, walking uphill is like, and walking like Victoria's hilly enough. Like there's enough up and down that you can get your heart rate into that 120, 130 zone very easily. But you want to be able to be at a talking pace from now, probably until May and like April, May. And that's going to build an aerobic base that will clear all the substrate and all the acid that you'll end up putting into your tissues with harder training. And it'll also condition your aerobic system, your heart, your lungs, your tissues to be loaded better for longer. So the problem that people have is they're like, panic, throw the pack on, sprint uphill, die, rinse and repeat. You're training one energy system at that point. You're training your anaerobic or your aerobic threshold system. You're never in that, almost never in that when you're sheep hunting. So now like the goal is completely different. Do you want to like win a uphill running race? Or do you want to hike for 14 days in the mountains? Hiking for 14 days in the mountains is lots of breaks. it's strength in your legs, and it's good core strength, and it's good mobility. So right now, I'd say it's 1 to 2 days a week of a talking pace training, which is lovely. It's very easy to do, especially with the balmy weather of Victoria. Then I would probably put, depending on how, not knowing your body at all, but I would probably put a day into some sort of stretching, like a yoga, like some sort of yoga routine that's not like power yoga or something like that, but even something like Pilates. We used to do it with the fellas when I was like competing in CrossFit, called it bro Lattes. It was a little less light in the loafers kind of deal, but it was still like super awesome. And it's want to be humbled. You take a bunch of guys who can deadlift 500 pounds and try and get them to do Pilates. No dice, man. Like it was a different kettle of fish. And then the next thing I would do is I would probably source out either, are you home gym or are you paid membership at a gym?
Currently don't have a paid, but I've got the home gym, but fully intending to go to the gym.
The best way for an adult to start going is putting some skin in the game and getting a membership. And don't get like a $10 a month membership. It's just not enough money to care about. Get something that's like a nicer, it doesn't have to be nice, but it has like usually space and equipment is decent. So that would be, finding a gym in your area that's close, and I would make sure that it's convenient enough that you can kind of like go either to or from or whatever's going to end up happening, but it's not like, oh, I've got to drive 45 minutes each way kind of thing. If you're committed to that, then that's great. But you got to think the 45 minutes each way is 90 minutes. And that's like a legitimate workout at that point that you're just missing just on the drive time. And some people can do that in their life. I'm not one of them. So that's what I would look at. And then I would start with, honestly, probably the like either the free programming that BTK has on the website from last year. Just go back and start there. You're going to start with some strength movements, and the strength is all relative. You don't have to back squat 400 pounds. You're going to start with the rep scheme and the weight that's going to feel right to you, and it's all described in there. And we can obviously chat after this on like kind of making sure that that's the right thing. And then we're going to ramp up from strength April, May, and then we're going to go into some higher intensity stuff and some more cardio. And then the very end, we're going to have some really high intensity stuff to run that anaerobic system out. But you can still get it. Like, this is the prime time. Like, the time is now for you to start your periodization of basically like March, April, May, June, July hunting. And you're going to like back off the system that you're going to use mostly when you're hunting, which is high strength and high aerobic, and you'll train something different before. Otherwise, you're just like, it's like you're trying to drive a fucking car in third gear all the time. You're like, I don't know why it keeps breaking down. Like, that's the equivalent. So that's what I would say, man, is like, it starts with stuff that probably is easier than you think you need. And then it's going to turn into something very challenging. And then it's going to turn into something that's going to help you the most. And then right before your hunt is going to turn into another energy system. And you're going to feel like, how is this going to help me? And then all of a sudden you'll get out there and things will be, still hard. But the goal is to come off a hunt and you can hunt the next week. It's not like you come off the hunt and you need a year of recovery or you have a permanent injury, or you couldn't make that last little stalk because you were just too dicked. That's the goal.
Awesome. Okay. Sounds like you got a plan.
Of course,
for me. I
man.
like it.
Of course.
Yeah. There's maybe some nuances and detail in there, but
yeah, we will, man. 100% we will.
Sweet. Awesome. Pete, what do you got?
I don't have a lot more to say. I think we had a pretty good conversation already. I just feel like we need to have another one of these sooner than later already, because we didn't really get into a lot of things that I wanted to get into. But no, I think that's, prep work. I've been working privately with Wardo here the last couple of months. On myself too. When I came out of guiding at Arctic Red last year, I had a little bit of a bunged up knee, and have been doing a bit of rehab on that. Definitely need to get a little more serious about that too myself. But
you're doing more than last.
Yeah, I can.
That's what we said.
Well, exactly, right. And I actually, the fact that I even came to you was like, hey, I have an issue. I should probably deal with this at some point. Was more than I did last year already too. So. But no, it's great. I know I've personally been doing just a bunch of stretching and stuff like that the last couple of months. And as lame as that sounds, it's actually pretty wild what it's been able to produce, I should say. Yeah. So just in how I feel and how I'm going about my day with a bunch of things that I previously had issues with.
Control and over of range of motion in your joints, man, is like, it goes a long freaking way. And really, like, all I say is, like, from December, that's what you spend your time doing. January, you keep doing that, and you start to do strength training. And then February, you start to do some like walks and some like low end cardio work. And then I mean, from there, it's just like the rest of the training methodology for sure.
Okay, so the new program you guys got coming out, the fitness program, if people are interested in it, I know you said we're talking pre, but it's going to be out after. Where do they go to check that out?
Go to Beyond the Kill. I actually am not like super involved with it. We have free programming that's on the website from last year from Jeremy Meredith, and then he had some other work commitments, and so we changed to something else. And then this new guy Sean, they have the BTK podcast has an episode coming out with him next week, I believe, or maybe even today, on that stuff. And then that'll be the new thing. It'll be an app. It'll be super competitively priced. And then there's some private training from Sean as well, if that interests you, for sure. But the number one thing I could say is, like, don't wait. Just start doing anything. Like, it's easier. It's with fitness. It's easier to have something on the canvas than it is to have nothing on it and be like, help me. So just like start fucking somewhere. And if I could say, like, 3 to 4 days a week is what you can consistently do, and you've been doing that, even if it's like not even great stuff, even if it's all great stuff, but even if you're carving out 60 minutes 4 days a week, you can get some serious amount of work done, man. Like, serious amount of work done.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. Is just get after it, right?
Don't start somewhere. Like, literally, put some fucking like put a podcast in, put some tunes on, and go for a walk. Like, go for a hard walk, swinging your arms. I mean, your heart rate will probably be like 120 beats a minute, which is pretty much what your heart rate sits at when you got a pack on and you're like kind of slogging, not like when you're punching up something steep and fast, but like when you're just kind of slogging away, that's probably pretty much what it sits at.
Cool. Okay. So as we close out here, you are coming to Kamloops, and
Yes,
you're going to do a talk on Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, just after Adam Foss, I think.
Okay, so Adam's going to kick us off with an intro to mountain hunting, and then you're going to talk about fitness, nutrition in the mountains. What are you going to talk about for us?
I think the best part, I'm doing some writing for Western Hunter magazine this year as well, and I think I'm going to talk about why it's important, but I'm going to kind of leave the floor slightly open to, this is what I used to do is like in my profession is like education. Someone in there has like a bad knee, hip, or ankle injury. I will like legitimately just assess and here's what I would do and here's how I'd fix it. If somebody's interested in that and the crowd wants it and wants to see how it's done and if we can fix it, I'm like, let's fucking go. Like, I'll always put my money where my mouth is. I hate being the people who don't practice what they preach. No time in my books for them in my profession, in like the physio-chiro world. So I'll definitely leave it open for that, but I'm going to talk about why periodizing your training is important. And then I'll probably talk quickly on, I think I'm going to do maybe 15 minutes on that, 15 minutes on some nutrition and like more mountain specific stuff, like trying to become fat adapted and some myths there. And then just leave it open at the end for like whatever the heck guys want to talk about, best exercises, training practices. So if the audience is more interactive, we can riff. I'll stand there for fucking 6 hours and rock and roll, right? So an hour will go by real fast. But that's my plan, is like why it's important, how strength training benefits you, and periodizing your year in general for mountain hunting is important and why it's smart. And then a little nutrition bit, and then maybe just like, see if someone has some, ankle or knee pain or something like that I can fuck around with.
Awesome. Wardo, appreciate you. Appreciate all you do. Super stoked about what's coming out. And Gooch, absolutely, we got to do this again. And I mean, soon. Like we just scratched the surface. We didn't talk nutrition.
Nah, that's good. Sometimes that's the way she goes. And you guys, let's line it up one more time. I've got a lot of whiskey to drink here. Maybe in person even.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that for Kamloops, but Kamloops is always a bit of a train wreck for us in terms of capacity, right? We're just so busy, but we definitely have to do that. Do you ever make it out to the island here? You talked about it. I guess you guys are coming.
Spring Bear. I'm actually from the island. I was just there last weekend. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
If I'm coming through Victoria, I'm gonna we'll shoot you a message. We'll hit a beer at Il Sauvage.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I got to check that. I've never heard of that place, and I live downtown too, so that's weird. But
yeah, I won't hold it against you, man. It's okay. Everybody gets one.
Well, you can only be drinking so much beer this year, Kyle, with a white sheep on your horizon. So
Yes.
yeah, fair enough.
100%.
Absolutely.